Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a real journey. We're doing a cinematic exploration into the literal fabric of our society. We're going to examine the invisible forces that hold us all together and the fractures that tear us apart. By pulling together deep statistical data, psychological research, and the profound art of documentary storytelling, we're going to figure out how shattered communities actually heal and how trust is built from the absolute ground up.
So here's a question that really demands our attention. Is fairness simply a moral ideal or the structural engine of human peace? We usually talk about fairness like it's just this nice concept, right? A philosophical or moral ideal that we strive for when it's convenient for us. But what if it's far more than that? What if fairness is the actual mechanical engine that drives human peace? What if it's the absolute prerequisite for any functioning, cooperative society? Take a second to ponder that, because by the end of our time together today, you might just look at your own daily interactions in a completely different light.
To actually understand the mechanics of society, we first have to understand how to look for the right information. We have to be deeply curious. As documentary filmmakers and researchers know, you literally have to go story hunting. You see, data and statistics are essential, absolutely, but to truly grasp how peace and trust operate, we've got to seek out universal truths about human connection. We have to find the human heartbeat beneath all those abstract concepts. We need to look way beyond the complex realities of life, death, and survival, and find the stories that move the world.
Part 1. Stories that move the world.
To tell this story, we're going to use a technique called the zoom effect, and we're starting out at a massive, epic scale. Now, what's really interesting about this visualization of World War II by Neil Halloran is how it forces us to confront the staggering cost of conflict. This is a glimpse into what researcher Jonathan Gray calls the data epic. When we look at global conflict, the sheer number of the fallen is so massive that our brains honestly struggle to even comprehend it. This visual mobilizes an aesthetics of distance, using towering visual timelines to narrate collective life and death at scale. It forces us to look at a world devoid of peace, a world where the structural engine of society has totally failed. As Halloran himself points out, I try to find ways to make statistical information less boring and intimidating. I believe it's often appropriate to express numbers with emotion and cinematic drama. He's reminding us that these aren't just data points on a chart, they are real human lives. To truly understand how peace is broken, and more importantly, how it's built, we have to express these numbers with real emotion. But looking at the macro data is only half the picture. If millions of lives are affected by the breakdown of peace on a global scale, we've got to ask, where does that peace actually begin? Well, to answer that, we have to zoom in, all the way from the epic data of global conflict right down to the micro level of our daily human interactions. Part 2. The foundation of fairness. Down at the micro scale, whether you're running a massive multinational corporation, leading a neighborhood community group, or just managing a small team at work, interpersonal fairness acts as the absolute bedrock of trust. You literally cannot have a peaceful, functioning macro society without fair micro interactions. But we need to clarify what fairness actually means, because honestly, it gets misunderstood all the time. Fairness in leadership is not about treating everyone exactly the same. Applying a blanket sameness to diverse individuals is actually a recipe for inequality. True fairness requires recognizing individual needs, strengths, and unique circumstances. It demands complete transparency in how decisions are made, applying policies with total consistency, and relying on objective standards rather than personal favoritism.
Okay, let's dive into this comparison. When you look at the anatomy of a fractured team, unfair treatment just shatters motivation. It breeds deep resentment, leads directly to disengagement, and absolutely crushes morale. The stakes here are incredibly high for any organization. Conversely, the interconnected model of fair leadership actively creates psychological safety. We're talking about an environment where team members know for a fact they can speak honestly without fear of unfair criticism. It fosters open communication and encourages individuals to take genuine ownership of their work. Fairness is the exact mechanism that transforms a group of divided individuals into a highly unified, accountable team.
Part 3. Healing through restorative justice. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when fairness is broken. Because let's be real, it will be. We're human, and conflicts inevitably occur. Let's zoom out just a bit from our intimate teams to the community level to examine how society repairs that damage. For generations, our default response to wrongdoing has been purely punitive, focusing entirely on retributive justice, which views wrongdoing simply as a legal violation and zeroes in on punishment. But look at the restorative justice model. Here, the wrongdoing is viewed fundamentally as harm to a relationship. The focus shifts completely away from mere punishment and toward repairing the harm and healing the actual people involved. It aligns deeply with a capability-oriented approach, empowering victims and restoring their agency rather than just slapping down a penalty. So, how does this humanistic healing process actually work in the real world? It basically happens in 3 vital steps. Step 1 is dialogue and validation, creating a safe space where victims can express their pain and have it genuinely acknowledged. Step 2 is super fascinating, reintegrative accountability. Sociologist John Braithwaite coined the term reintegrative shaming. It's a counterintuitive but profoundly powerful concept. It means we firmly condemn the harmful deed, but we do not stigmatize the perpetrator. We protect their core human dignity so they can recognize the damage they caused without being permanently outcast. And finally, step 3, the actual reparation of the relationship. This is the psychological foundation of alternative dispute resolution. Honestly, it's how communities survive trauma.
Part 4, building bridging social capital. Let's move to and see how this builds a larger society.
We've looked at fair leadership and healed communities. Now let's zoom back out to the macro level to see how these healed communities connect to form a peaceful, thriving global society. This is the concept of social capital, the invisible network of relationships that makes a society function. But here's the thing, not all social capital is the same. Bonding social capital refers to exclusive ties that bring similar people together, like your family, your close friends, or your specific ethnic group. Bonding capital is natural, and it's highly comforting. But bridging social capital is totally different. These are the inclusive, cross-cutting ties that connect completely different social groups. Researchers have found that while bonding capital helps you get by, it is bridging capital, connecting across unequal groups, that is absolutely essential for true poverty reduction, economic opportunity, and lasting societal cohesion.
So how do we actually build these bridges? Because we definitely can't just hope they happen organically. Institutions have to take deliberate action. This means ensuring political pluralism, guaranteeing strict fairness before the law for every single social group, investing in public spaces that naturally bring diverse groups together, and actively changing rules to include groups that were previously excluded from finance, education, and governance. This right here is how a state architects peace.
Part 5, Trust, Peace, and Community. We've arrived at the climax of our explainer today. From the epic data of global war, to the fairness of a single leader, to the restorative healing of a community, all the way to the bridging capital of a nation, it all converges on this crucial number, 0.654. So the crucial point is, what exactly is this number? Well, in a landmark study analyzing the economic performance of societies, researchers found a positive correlation coefficient of 0.654 between the growth of a nation's top successful organizations and the level of civic trust its citizens have beyond their immediate family. Let that sink in for a second. The mathematical data proves that when people trust strangers, when there is fairness, bridging social capital, and restorative healing, societies don't just become more peaceful, they become vastly more prosperous and cooperative. Trust is the literal currency of a thriving civilization. We've seen that the distance between a world of epic conflict and a world of prosperity is bridged by the daily, intentional acts of fairness and accountability we practice. Peace isn't just an abstract treaty signed by politicians. It's the psychological safety you create in your own workplace. It's the restorative grace you show in a heated conflict. It's the cross-cutting tie you choose to make with someone totally outside your usual circle. If fairness is indeed the structural engine of human peace, the power to build it rests directly in our hands. So I leave you with this thought. What bridging tie will you build today?